Tearlaments have finally arrived in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and with it comes some brand new cards for NR format. Today, I'll be showcasing all the new NR format cards, their possible uses, and even some cards that might be overlooked at first glance. Hello, my name is Doc Conrad Yugioh, and if you like this kind of video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're interested in NR format and all other alt formats for Yu-Gi-Oh! Without further ado, let's jump right in. Well, here they are. All of the NR cards that were available in both the new secret pack and the legacy pack today. I'll be doing this rant style just so that way you guys can know I'm getting my first thoughts and first impressions of all these cards. Nothing really written out or planned incredibly so, but you know, there's quite a bit to go over. So let's get started. First off, we have the Tearlaments. We got two Tearlaments main deck monsters and a lot of spell traps. Tearlaments Merly and Tearlaments Havness are the two that we got, and we finally have a hand trap. We finally have a hand trap in NR format. It's a special summon of Havness and a mill 3 off the top of the deck. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Unfortunately, there isn't too much you can do with the fusion summon effect of it being sent to the grave. But, you know, that's still great. I'd have to look in more to see if there's any real fusion material monsters that we could bring out with the Tearlaments monsters, but Havness is a great hand trap. As well as with Merly, by being a normal or special summon, sending the top 3 to the deck, to the grave. Crazy. Those are the two main things that, like, have mostly surprised a lot of us. Being able to mill and send cards from the deck to the grave is an important factor for a lot of decks that are meta in NR, including Orcust, all the World Legacy cards, Shadalls and Crawlers, plenty of other cards really want to get sent to the graveyard from the top of the deck. So that's fantastic. Some cards we're going to go ahead and start from the left to the right. Silvervine Senri. This card is pretty good. You can tribute this card, target a level 2 monster in your grave, accept itself, special summon it, then special summon a level 2 monster from your hand with a different attribute than the monster special summoned by this effect. Well, by having different attributes, along with it being a level 2 and a beast, this feels like a great inclusion in Melfi, Tri-Melfi Sprite. Getting out both all of the different stuff for Tri Brigades, having different attributes for most of these monsters, being able to be special summon out, and then bringing out one from grave and one from hand with a normal summon of it, making an instant Mannequin Cat with just this card. It's gonna be crazy. I think Silvervine Senri is going to be pretty good overall. Maybe it's a bit slow. Maybe it's a bit slow for it being a normal summon and a force to attribute out for a 0 attack monster, sure, but I still think it's worth at least mentioning. Melfi Penny, and alongside Melfi Penny, Merry Melfies. These two cards luckily are in the rare slot, and with that, there is a lot that could be happening. For one, if a face-up beast monster you control is returned to the hand, most of the Melfies have that effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon one synchro monster using only this card you control, and Melfi monsters in your hand. Not only is this an instant speed synchro, the card that you can be synchro summoning is an instant bounce on Merry Melfies. Now unfortunately, because of Merry Melfi's secondary effect, there is no Melfi Xyz monster in NR format, but I think a free pop on your opponent's turn whenever a beast monster returns to the hand into an instant synchro summon is still very good. Next, we got a couple of the Vernisylphs. Vernisylph of the Flowering Fields allows it so that way it can send your opponent can't target Vernisylphs you control. You could discard it and another monster or a Vernisylph card, important note card for the spell traps. And then you can add an earth monster from your graveyard to your hand, then special summon an earth monster from your graveyard. You can't activate earth monster effects for the rest of the turn, but with the Vernisylph deck, you're going to want to be going into Vernisylphs anyway. And I feel like there's a lot of earth monsters that can be sent to the grave via some of the easy mills that come off of it. The Vernisylphs will have some sort of home, or at least some form of experimentation inside of NR, especially with a mainly earth-focused deck. That as well as Thawing Mountains. You could discard this card and one monster or a Vernisylph, draw a card, then special summon an Earth in the grave, can't you cannot activate non-Earth monsters effects for the rest of the turn. You can target a Vernisil if you control. It can make a second attack during each battle phase. This one seems not as good off the bat as Flowering Fields. The double attack when it's on the field doesn't really matter to me. It has some plays for sure, but I definitely think that Flowering Fields has this beat out in terms of how it can set up and also have its targeting protection still going to be pretty good. Next up, Propagandrake. This card is interesting. Once per turn, if you control a monster whose original type is Beast, Insect, Plant, or Rock, you can declare one of those types you control. This card becomes that declared type. If this card has applied this effect, it also applied the following effects while it remains in the monster zone. All face-up monsters on the field become the same type. Monsters on the field with this card's type cannot be targeted by either player using the effects of monsters your opponent controls with the same type. This one gives it some sort of targeting protection for your field, which I think is pretty good. However, there's really no way to bring this card out for free. It is a level 3 Earth Psychic, which may be good in, constructed when you have things like Emergency Teleport, but I don't know why we'd want to do that for it being a Psychic in this deck specifically, in most decks specifically. It's an Earth, which could be useful for the Vernisils, being able to pitch itself off, and then becoming the same type as like either a plant or a beast to work with some of the Melfies, and maybe that'll go and help out a little bit, but we have 2 Amazonas cards that are relatively important for any sort of Amazonas strategy. The Amazonas Pendulum monsters, both of them are in N rarity, and that is fantastic. Silver Sword Master and Golden Whip Master are the 2, a scale 1 and a scale 7, level 3 and a level 5. The level 5 states, if this card is in the monster zone, is destroyed by battle card effect, place in the pen zone. If an Amazonas monster is special summoned to your field while this card is in your graveyard, place in the pen zone. And in the pen zone, Amazonas monsters you control gain 100 attack equal to their own level times 100. And when an attack is declared involving your Amazonas, you can target one spell trap of the field, destroy it. Silver Sword Master basically has the same effect as Golden Whip Master, just involving itself, making it so that way it cannot, if it's destroyed by battle or card effect, place in the pendulum zone, and if an Amazon special summon to your field while it's in the graveyard, place in the pen zone. Of note, it also requires it to be in the graveyard, not the top of the extra deck, which makes it a little bit more difficult if it were to be, say destroyed by battle. Maybe milled it could be put in there, or perhaps it were used for an Xyz or a fusion summon. That might be the best case scenario. Although now that I think about it, I don't even think fusions work with that. I'd have to relook into that. I'm bad with pens. Anyway, Amazonas monsters you control gain 100 attack equal to level times 100. When attack is declared, you can target an Amazonas spell trap in your graveyard, add it to your hand. There are a number of Amazonas spell traps that can work out. A lot of them aren't good. That's just Amazonas for you. But we'll take a look at one of those. Amazonas Hall is the newest trap card added to the newest Amazonas trap card added to the NR. When this card is activated, you can take one Amazonas monster from your graveyard or your face-up extra deck and either add it to your hand, or if it is a pendulum monster, place it in your pendulum zone. If a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field while you control an Amazonas monster card, you can target one of those opponent's monsters, gain life points equal to its attack. Okay. That second effect really doesn't give it too much. Sure, it gives you some HP back for when, in regular Amazonas, you want to, inflict damage to your opponent by having, weaker monsters that then deal the damage to your opponent and can't be destroyed by battle, sure. And gaining the life points is a great way to go ahead and, offset some of the costs of, your opponent maybe having a larger monster in the field, sure. I think it's fine. And the Amazonas Quick Play spell does not matter because it fusion summons an Amazonas fusion monster, and all of the Amazonas fusion monsters are SR or above. Yay! We'll just get rid of that. For the other monsters, we have the 2 monsters that were brought out in the Legacy packs. These include Puppet Pawn and Puppet Rook. I think the better of these 2 is definitely Puppet Rook. But let's go ahead and read over both of them. Puppet Pawn says this card can attack directly. You can only use each of the following effects of Puppet Pawn once per turn. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can add 1 promotion from your deck to your hand. You can't use that effect. Promotion is an SR card, but oh well. You can banish this card from your graveyard. Add an Earth Warrior monster from your deck to your hand. Okay. And then your opponent can add 1 monster from their deck to their hand. Puppet Rook, however, is actually a good card. When this card is normal summoned, change it to defense. And if you do, send 1 Earth Warrior monster from your deck to your graveyard. Okay, an instant targeted mill for all Earth Warrior monsters. That is fantastic. That's what you want. It's something that provides some sort of advantage compared to Puppet, whatever that card was called, Puppet Pawn. Rook seems to be a much better card. And monsters your opponent controls that can attack must attack this card. And once per turn, when this card is targeted for attack, you can target a level 6 or higher Earth Warrior monster in your graveyard. Send this card from the field to the graveyard. Special summon that monster. Change the attack target to it. Oh my god. Any level 6 or higher Earth Warrior in your grave now becomes a free special summon if your opponent has any monsters on the field. They have to attack this card. So hopefully what you can do is make your opponent have a relatively shitty end board, or if they brick and can't get over whatever it is you might send, you can make this like a great stun lock for your opponent to not be wanting to play any monsters on the field. I think that this is going to be very underrated because it was hidden inside of the Legacy pack. Puppet Rook, definitely a card to keep an eye on. Now we'll go ahead and move on to the spell traps. Tearlaments Grief. Special summon 1 Tearlaments monster or Yugioh Starfrost from your deck or graveyard, then send 1 monster you control to the graveyard with the same type or attribute as that special summon monster. If this card is sent to the graveyard by card effect, you can target 1 of your banished Tearlament traps, add it to your hand. You can only use 1 Grief effect per turn and only once that turn. This one seems pretty good. It not only provides a free special summon for both Havness or Merly, and Merly is probably going to be the one you want to special summon with this from your deck, and then you can target a monster in your grave that you brought out earlier that's either a dark or an aqua, and special summon it. There's quite a number of good dark monsters, quite a number of good aqua monsters. This might even be great for a Shaddoll focus deck. If you're wanting to go ahead and get some mills and get some Shaddolls into the graveyard or some World Legacy cards into the graveyard and get a special summon off of it. Remember, it has to be type or attribute, so it can be both if you want. You can get another Tearlament or you can get another card. I think that just is great. The banish effect for the Tearlaments traps may come up because there are some trap cards. Nearly all the trap cards are in NR format, but we'll get to those in a second. Tearlaments Heartbeat. Target 1 spell trap on the field, or you can target 2 if you control Yugioh Starfrost. Shuffle them into the deck, then send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target 1 Tearlaments trap in your graveyard, add to your hand. You can only use 1 effect of Heartbeat, 1 effect per turn, and only once that turn. Heartbeat is pretty good. Being able to go ahead and remove any spell trap without sending it to the grave can give some great play around either floodgates or back row that you're really concerned about. Field spells that are annoying, that have targeted, have destruction protection, like Kyoto Waterfront. I just think this card really has a bit of a good effect, especially if you have stuff in your hand that you want to pitch into the graveyard. Like I said, once again, for NR, Shaddolls, World Legacy, some Crawlers. There's quite a number of cards that can work well with this. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic, and I hope to go ahead and see a little bit of play at the very least. Tearlaments Meta Noise. If you control a Tearlaments monster or Yugioh Starfrost, target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, change to face-down defense position, then send a Tearlaments from your deck to grave. If this card is sent to the grave by card effect, you can target 1 Tearlaments monster your graveyard, add it to hand. Meta Noise, to me, it is a slower set Book of Moon. Not only that, but it also makes it so that way the Tearlament that you send to graveyard are the fusion summoners. So if there's a card that you could make by technicality, by shuffling them back with the Merly or the Havness, that seems fine, but without it, I mean, well, what would be the point, really? We have Vernisylph and the Changing Seasons. Target a Vernisylph monster to your graveyard, add it to your hand, or special summon it. During your opponent's turn, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, if you have no cards in your hand, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon as many Vernisylph monsters as possible with different names from your graveyard, but return them to the hand during your end phase. With there being only 2 Vernisylphs that you can make, I don't see this being the best. It has, sure, great recursion with the cards that pitch themselves from the hand with other Earth monsters. Seems fine, but it might just seem a little bit too slow for it to really see much play. Vernisylph and the Flower Buds. Target face-up cards your opponent controls, up to the number of Earth monsters you control with different names that were special summoned from the graveyard. Return Earth monsters you control to the hand, equal to the number of targets. And if you returned at least 1 to the hand, return the targeted cards. So you can target as many cards on the field as there were monsters on your side of the field that were special summoned. Return the Earth monsters that you have, and even if those cards are either, removed or chained away, if you at least have one of those monsters still on the field and add it to your hand, all of your opponent's monsters are bounced. That seems like it could use some niche play in general. It requires Earth monsters that returned from the graveyard to be special summoned. There are a couple that I can think of off the top of my head, but I don't know if that card is going to be fast enough for there to be really any play for that. We'll have to see. Tearlaments Crime, a counter trap. When a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated while you control a Tearlaments monster or Visa Starfrost, negate the activation. If you do, shuffle that card into the deck. Then send 1 monster from your hand to the graveyard. If this card is sent to the graveyard by card effect, you can target one of your banished Tearlaments added to your hand. I think that Crime is underrated already in the base game. By having a shuffle on field negation on a counter trap and being able to pitch a card from hand to graveyard. Danger feels like it could be good with this as a counter trap as well. Sending it to graveyard, the effect will allow it to be basically have a spell speed 3 effect. I think this card's going to be pretty good. And then finally, Tearlaments Sulliek. If you control a Tearlaments monster or Visa Starfrost, you can target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, negates effects, send a monster you control to the graveyard. This card is sent to the graveyard by card effect. You can add a Tearlaments monster from deck to hand. Sending a monster to the grave of your own type seems like it could be pretty good in base tier, and there are some cases where that might be even good to send any monster you control, as long as you have a tier on the field. But I do not think that the mills from nearly any of these spell traps are going to be worth it, other than maybe Sulliek for Havness and Burley. That all being said, those are the new NR cards. What do you guys think? What do you think are the best of these NR cards that are available? Let me bring back the ones that I kind of just tossed to the side real quick. So out of all of these cards, what is it that you think is going to be the most broken in an R format? I personally believe that Senri is going to be pretty good. I think that both the Tearlaments will see play and experimentation for any form of mill decks. And I think that, honestly, Puppet Rook is one of the cards that is going to see a ton of play that you probably won't expect, or at least deserve some form of experimentation as a form of interrupt, floodgate, and a way to send any Earth Warrior from deck to grave, even if it isn't going to be able to activate its secondary effect. What do you guys think, though? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to go ahead and see deck profiles on NR format, I have a whole series called The Lab that you can go ahead and watch, and I'll be going ahead and cooking up some more stuff in the near future with some of these new cards alongside other members of the Boss Stage community. If you want to go ahead and join that, the Discord is also linked down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day.